It is championship weekend in the Western Ultimate League. One semifinal down and one semifinal to go. Alpenglow about to take on the Falcons. But down on the field is Jenna Weiner of the Double Overtime podcast, joined by Ben Sadis, who is in charge of the statistics that help make the Western Ultimate League run. Down to you.
Thanks, Katie. Glad to be joined down here on the field with Ben Sadis. Ben, great to be here with you. We had a very exciting first game. Now we have the home team, Bay Area Falcons, facing off against the reigning champions, Colorado Alpenglow. These two teams haven't faced off against each other so far this season, but what has been the statistical breakdown for each of the two teams coming into this weekend?
Well, Jennifer, Colorado, it really starts with their offense. They have a 72% hold rate, which means they're scoring on 70% of the offensive possessions, the best in the league. Bay Area, definitely a little more defensive focus. Offenses struggle at times this year, so it'll be interesting to see if they can keep up with Colorado.
Sounds good. And let's start with the home team. Not the top seeds, but they're plucky. They've taken some games at home. Who have been some of their statistical leaders so far this season?
Well, they had a big new addition in Robin Fenig, who's led their offense throwing the disc, most assists, most thrown yards. They have Georgia Cardosa on defense, who's led the team in blocks. She's been a big on the mark all year, frustrating opposing handlers. It'll be interesting to see if she can do that against Colorado star Ari Nelson.
Speaking of, this Colorado offense has been just absolutely stellar so far this season, putting up tied for best point differential in the league next to San Diego, who have been some of their major contributors as they've trying to defend their title after last year.
Well, I mean, they have stars all around the offense. Reina Kawabata, Abby Thorpe, MVP last year. Jade McLaughlin scored 6 goals last game. On defense, Rory Veldman's been amazing all over the field, and Bristol Lavoie's broken out, scoring 14 goals for them this season on the D-line.
Yeah, it's been a very impressive performance all around from Colorado. We got some pretty gusty conditions. Any guesses, any statistical insights that fans should know ahead of this game?
Well, both these teams, they like to play tight person defense. They like to throw it long. They like to play fast. So it'll be interesting to see what the wind does to them, but it could go either way.
Sounds good. More storylines, more previews to come from the booth. We're going to send it back. Katie, Charlie, take it away.
Well, don't go anywhere. More action coming up from championship weekend. Stay tuned for Alpenglow versus the Bay Area Falcons. As the crowd arrives for Bay Area Falcons home game against Colorado Alpenglow, the reigning champions in the Western Ultimate League. We have just come off a very exciting first semifinal where San Diego Super Bloom took down Seattle Tempest by 1 point, 17-16. I think we're going to be treated to more of the same. I am Katie Killebrew, joined by Charlie Mercer in the booth, looking at these teams as they run on the field. What are you excited about in this matchup?
I'm excited about two teams that haven't seen each other in 2 years. I'm excited about Colorado with their 72% hold rate And I'm excited about San Francisco with their quick ball movement, contrasting against like Colorado's looking to take the shots they want. And I think these two teams are going to be a really great match for each other and push each other in ways that they haven't been challenged so far this season.
As we look at the personnel for these two teams, the Bay Area Falcons roster, what stands out to you about the personnel for this team?
This roster is strong top to bottom. When we look at the individual stats for this team, yes, there are players like Robin Fennig that are putting up huge stat lines new to the Falcons this year, but also there are 4 players that are tied with 8 goals for the most on the team. And so it's really evenly distributed amongst all of these players that are having huge contributions, but it's not just one person that's at the top of the stat line. There are so many players. Sarah Carnahan, we could just keep going down the list of the contributions that each player is making on this team, and it makes it a whole complete team.
A complete team top to bottom. The 4 seed in this tournament, they were 4-2 on the season. And as we pivot to Colorado Alpenglow, they were 6-0 this season. They have done something this season that they have never done before, which was win a game outside of their home stadium of Colorado. Their first away wins. They won a championship without winning an away game, which is pretty impressive, but they're going to have to win this one away. This is the Colorado Alpenglow roster. There's some significant turnover from the previous season, but Charlie, I feel like there are some real stars on this line.
Absolutely, right? If you look at their plus-minus rating, it is so clear that Rory Veldman is just leading the team with a plus 24 rating on the team. Such a huge contributor. We can look at players like Sarah Ito and Abby Thorpe and Ari Nelson, and new to the Alpenglow this year, new to the WL, Rina Kawabata, right? Players like Alicia Dixon. There are so many players that we're going to be seeing over and over again. Their O-line is pretty set, and so we'll see those same players, Jade McLaughlin, coming out time after time, and these players do a phenomenal job getting it done.
These players are playing in the Western Ultimate League, which might have a slightly different rule set if you are an Ultimate fan but are just tuning in for the excitement of championship weekend. Charlie, talk me through some of the important rule changes for this league.
One of the noteworthy rules about this league is that the stall is 7 seconds. It is still a player-officiated league. There are observers on the field to help guide the conversations. One of the rules that often becomes a little bit tricky is this situation of a pre-stall. So when there is a stoppage of play, there is a 4-second pre-stall where the thrower cannot initiate any sort of throwing movement, but all of the other players on the field can start their movement. So think of it as your pre-snap motion in football. And so that pre-stall movement of 4 seconds is a noteworthy change, as well as the ability for coaches to call timeouts from the sideline. And when you call a timeout, you can sub in any or all players, making this a very valuable tool that changes the flow and the outcome of games when used properly.
We're now getting a look at our all-female and non-binary observing team. The Western Ultimate League is really proud to give opportunities for players and observers and a lot of our staff as well to represent here, as we see the captains from Colorado, Sarah Ito, Robin Fassett, Carmen, and Abby Thorpe, who have, I believe, lost the poll and a captaining core from Falcons in Amanda Maru, Eliza Chang, and Sarah Carnahan have elected to receive the disc in that upwind end zone.
What do you think of that strategic choice to start in that upwind end zone, given this wind?
I think that the Falcons are at home. They call this stadium, even though it is Tiger Stadium at Fremont High School in Fremont, California, they call it the Nest. This is their home stage, and I think that they know this very well. And they're a team who has really played well on defense, so I think that they're going to try to lean into that defensive intensity once they get this downwind hold.
And when we look at that defensive intensity, that break percentage is really close, but is one of the places where these two teams, their season stats is most similar. Drawing your attention to the Huck completion rating, Colorado leads the league with a 65.9% Huck completion. This is 15 percentage points better than any other team in the league. It is not just that Colorado is taking shots. Seattle Tempest takes more Hucks than any other team in the league, but it is Colorado that is completing those Hucks, which is a big part of what's leading to their 72% hold rating. Their break percentages are fairly comparable, but this is where we're going to see the difference of which team is going to be able to hold most consistently with this wind that will be a good predictor of the outcome of this game.
You can feel the nerves rising from both teams as they take the line. The Colorado players are looking almost directly into the sun. We've had a little bit of cloud cover come in, which I think actually probably helps that blinding sun angle that can affect this stadium in the afternoon, as we're going to have the sun set during this game. Veldman is set to pull. And Colorado Alpenglow are going to see if they can get a break. And at home, the Bay Area Falcons with their first offensive possession. The disc landing inbound, Macy Volbrecht picking up to Fenig. Talia Ward a little bit too far. Cardenas reels it in. Into the middle. Maru, one of the captains. Ward putting it deep. The reception. Melina Wiebe to win. And the kick spike for the score. If you cannot hear this crowd yet, you're going to hear them. They are flooding into this stadium. That was just a rocket from Talia Ward to her college coach, Melina Wiebe. Faking, and then the lefty backhand to Kobe, as her nickname is. One of the Callahan winners, which is like the Heisman Trophy for the ultimate frisbee world.
Melina Wiebe took a season off to have a baby and is now back, and just absolutely huge contributions to this team, crushing it in this league, showing that you can do, like, you can have a family, you can be a professional ultimate player too, and it's phenomenal to have those role models on the field.
Now the first look at the Colorado offensive line, which has been mighty all season. Thorpe working with Nelson. Ito, the block there being hunted by Wayenberg. Rina Kawabata now with the disc. Swinging across the field, it's Nelson and Thorpe. Thorpe upfield for Ito. Ito and Nelson, patience. Not having a lot. This Bay Area squad is playing tight defense, but outside the end of the end zone, clipping Pesh on the foot. Or sorry, I think that was Slev or Sarah Levin. Feeling the contact, but it looks like an injury sub being taken here by the Falcons player. A little bit too far. We're seeing Han Chen come in. Or maybe McKinley McQuaid. Julia Mankoff, the player, going off with an injury. Hope we see her return. It's a little bit confusing because this disc actually went further past. So it looks like a foul being called as Sarah Levin goes to pick up this disc and is going to get it on the end zone line. The injury confusing us a little bit. McQuaid on the mark. Levin looking and getting free is May Hecht. Well, it had a little bit of delay at the end, but it is a clean hold for Colorado Alpenglow.
Potentially would not have been a clean hold. That would have been a very challenging bid for Sarah Levin there. Sarah Levin is skilled and certainly could have gotten it, but even without the foul call, it was quite a leading pass into this downwind end zone with the wonky wind that we know.
Yeah, the wind, when it goes past the end of the bleachers, the stadium, swirls just in that corner. So we actually see a lot of turns in that near sideline corner.
Because the wind is pushing the disc down like we saw there, pushing it down, which is what made it hard for Sarah Levin to catch that disc. May Hecht, with her first goal of the night, we can expect much more of May Hecht. I think when we spoke with the Colorado coaches prior to this game, they were really highlighting Hecht as a player who doesn't get enough hype for all of the contributions that they're giving to this team.
Attempting a roller pull upwind, but landing right around that 50-yard line as Fenig picks up. Back for Macy Volbrecht. Upfield to Maru. Ward making it look easy to Alexi Zolk. Very smooth offense. I'm not seeing a lot of pressure being put on by the Colorado Alpenglow players, Charlie.
That is exactly what I was thinking. Love good, clean offense, but part of how that good, clean offense happens is because there isn't enough defensive pressure. With these first couple of points of the games, teams are clearly feeling each other out. Both teams have mostly been forcing righty forehand, and so we're playing up that comfortable forehand space. We're in that comfortable zone for throwers, but the windows are fairly large for the receivers, which means there's a lot of opportunity to tighten up defensively to make those windows smaller and make it harder for those receptions to happen.
Pull goes a little bit further this time. Nelson getting the disc from Hecht. Up to Thorpe, who's been distributing very well for this Colorado side. Kawabata shoots upfield, and no receiver really had a chance at it. The first turn of the game and a break chance for the Falcons. Han Chen coming off of a national title with San Francisco Fury. Goes up line. A stall called. So the call was contested, asked the observer for a ruling. The observer ruling where the hands are coming apart, saying no stall. I was honestly surprised to hear a stall call. The stall is 7 full seconds. Sometimes we have a little bit of a fast count by players, but that one was extraordinarily zippy. Chen again with the disc. Upfield. Morgan Greenwood and resetting back to Chen. Eliza Pugh. Chen is getting it every other as they inch upfield, getting a gainer, and that one goes into the crowd, maybe wanting to get the Falcons fans involved, but giving Colorado back the disc.
You say Han Chen's name and talking about how they're getting it every other. And there's a turnover.
We're seeing a little bit more of a gusty wind as Ari Nelson puts it upfield for Abby Thorpe. They have been one of the most sure connections for this Colorado Alpenglow side. Nelson is a thrower that can throw receivers open, and when you have someone with as good of spatial awareness as Abby Thorpe, it's almost a gimme in this space.
One of the Colorado stats that sticks out to me the most is that as a collective, they have covered 10,348 yards as a team during the regular season. That is more than 1,000 yards than any other team. And it's because of plays like that where they're able to pick up the disc and distribute in places that are threatening and successful. And it is Ari Nelson's throwing ability and acumen that is helping to get them so many of those yards.
Well, it also helps that they outscored their opponents with a plus 36-point differential. But I agree with you, Charlie. That's a lot of yards. Bay Area working with their handlers, Ward and Maru, against this two-person cup. 3 handlers versus 2 defenders. As we see, I believe, Megan Maxfield getting involved on the defensive side. Wynn puts it up for Ward. Bidding is Megan Maxfield. Ward centers it to Volbrecht. To Wiebe. Trying to get the disc. Fenig. The force looks like it's middle or switching from this Colorado side. Or maybe we had one person who missed it, but who didn't miss it is Melina Wiebe on the stat sheet again from Khalees Cardenas.
Khalees Cardenas moving to San Francisco has been such a contribution to the San Francisco ultimate scene, having played in Seattle for many years and coming down to the Bay Area and integrating into this Falcons roster and bringing that high level of experience as a veteran player on her second year on the Falcons, but so many other tight levels of play experience to this team, so that in these crunch situations, someone like Cardenas has already been in so many championship games and can play chilly and possession-oriented and hit those tight windows under pressure in these situations.
Not just national championships, world championships, winning 2 with Seattle Riot.
And me.
And with you, Charlie Mercer. So I know that you can talk about that with complete conviction. No breaks yet in the game. Colorado on offense. Thorpe with the disc. Elevating to Alicia Dixon. Nelson. Thinking about it. Flat marks Cardosa now on May Hecht. Unsure what the stoppage is if you look just at the handlers, but far away from the disc, it looks like there's a discussion of pick, as you can see the cutters on the far side very close together. It looks like we're discussing where the disc count is going to be coming back in.
Hand signals are very helpful in Ultimate to convey what is happening on the fields. So you can see the observer signaling that there is a contest.
And because that call happened before the throw, it is going to come in at stall 0 here with Nelson. They have...
And this is an opportunity to see that pre-snap motion, the pre-stall.
Up. Dixon gets it. Close to the end zone. Kawabata now. Up over the top. And Thorpe gets another one. That was a scuba? Question mark? That was up over the top and a trust throw from Kawabata to Thorpe.
I thought it was a high release backhand. But we will take a look on the replay. Kawabata, certainly a player that is having an impact as a finalist for the Breakout Player of the Year. Let's look. What kind of throw was it? Yeah, high release backhand to space. But like you said, certainly a trust throw of, I know where you're going, teammate. We have this connection. We've built up this chemistry.
It is interesting as we're seeing these two teams start to feel each other out. we talked about it a little bit in the pregame when we were talking about the statistics of this league, but these two teams have not played each other for over 2 years. I believe it's 777 days or 2 years, 1 month, and weeks, etc. But it is a long time, and these players, because they play on so many disparate club and college programs, they don't get to see each other. So we're really getting to see which defense learns more, is able to affect change. As Fennec, that stall count was rising. Cardenas leading Ward upfield. Backhand goes. Fennec had released from the handler space and grabs a score. It is Ward to Fennec, and the Bay Area hold.
I think that sometimes we're so used to seeing Fennec in the handler space that sometimes people forget what a threat they can be in the cutter space as a downfield receiver. This ability to transfer from being in the backfield to threatening as a cutter, the positioning that Fennec had here to push the defender out of position so that they had an uncontested play at the disc shows all of the levels of experience in the Team USA and the high level of competition that Fennec has been privy to.
Yeah. Puller, Morgan, Greenwood trying to figure out their matchups against this Colorado side. I will say that the only break opportunity has come against Colorado. Bay Area perfect on offense so far in this game. This D-line has gotten one break opportunity, but can they get another? Huge throw going up to Jade McLaughlin, and the block by McKinley McQuaid. The one throw from Nelson to McLaughlin has worked before, but it's not going to work here. The athletic play of McQuaid, who was on the Stanford Superfly coaching staff this year. The closing speed, and gets the clean block. Stepanitis faking Greenwood to Midi Chang. Finding Stepanitis in the middle. Han Chen. Upfield through the middle. They're trying to work out of this horizontal stack using that middle space. Chang finds McQuaid. McQuaid to Fury teammate Han Chen. Trying to get a defensive block. Stepanitis in the middle again. They're cycling from that far side. Han Chen with the layout to save possession. Pulls the trigger a little too quickly, but Chen has it. Stepanitis inching closer, 10 yards, 15 yards outside the end zone. Chen, not a lot of movement upfield. Chang in the middle. Greenwood. Chang. Upline, the system keeps working. Are they in the end zone? Not yet. Greenwood thought maybe close, fooled by that yellow line. It's the pylons that matter, and Chen with the inside dagger, the first break of the game to Stepanitis. The clean break. They got possession and never gave it back.
The celebration on the field, the way that the Falcons are rushing, they know what this break means. It's not just that they got a break. Not all breaks are worth the same. They got the upwind break into the end zone, which creates the opportunity for them to close it out and seal it by getting this downwind break set, which would put them up by 2.
The other thing that I appreciate is that they had to throw a lot of throws, and they were precise. They were patient. They were working with the full breadth of their team. So they got that one, but they also made this very structured Colorado O-line have to play D, and then they are back on the field for the most part. As far as I can see, we'll have to see. It looks like a different line, some of the same pieces. Mimek and Pesh, the handlers. Ellie Smith gets it to Daniels, not the intended receiver. Daniels goes inside. Thorpe is on the field. Daniels and Thorpe moving, changing the point of attack. Really strong marking from the Falcons. Slicing inside. Hannah Mimek knew that Thorpe was going. The trust throw to the inside. What a throw from Hannah Mimek.
Thorpe holding up those 3 fingers saying, we've just started and I already have 3 goals. Look at them. This is why I'm on deck and getting all these MVP stats, MVP nominations.
And you can see that beware of dogs sign on Thorpe's chest. That is a team ethos. They have loved saying that they're dogs, giving it to the player who's really making an impact for that team. Colorado goes back upwind.
When we think about the wind, I think it does play to the Bay Area style of play. The Bay Area has had a lot of success with the small ball, using the break side, being able to get the disc laterally back and forth across the field. Bay Area has thrown the most number of breaks of any team in the league, and that ability to move the disc is what's showing up here as with this really patient offense with this wind.
Pfennig centers the disc after the pull went out of bounds. There are 2 minutes left in this quarter as Jacqueline Nguyen and Talia Ward get the disc. Volbrecht being the outlet for this line. Upfield to Maru. Trying to get those inside lanes. Goes backwards to Ward. Some horizontal cuts mean the angles are difficult. Throwing from the ground to Ward. Ward takes advantage of the confusion, hitting Pfennig upfield. Cardenas now with the disc. It looks like a stall being called.
That's another
on Pfennig.
Another aggressively fast stall count.
Yeah. While we figure this out, we're going to thank our partners. Combat Candy as the premier sponsor of the Western Ultimate League. And Breakmark is the WL's official apparel provider, and Robin Pfennig makes it look good, giving and going for the score. And the Bay Area hold.
I do think that this is a strategic choice by Bay Area to push Pfennig downfield.
So the disc was in Pfennig's hands, had to go back to Khalees Cardenas, and Cardenas throws the one throw on the immediate upline from Pfennig on the restart, really being aware of the timing coming back from the stoppage.
Again, that experience is certainly coming into play here, and I love pushing Pfennig into the goal space, again, to be able to use her size, use her experience in that space and that timing and connection with Cardenas.
A deep pull from Han Chen. Nelson and Thorpe working together. Ito May Hecht now with the disc, facing the formidable Mark and Wall from this junk look, forcing the Colorado players to the far side of the field, not giving them many resets. Intended for Nelson. No call. Bay Area with another break opportunity. Cardosa upfield for Stepanidis. Chen Cardosa, sideline to sideline. Inside, through a little traffic. Eliza Chang, one of the captains. Tamiri Chang. Munson. And Chang keeping the disc in the middle of the field. And then it's Cardosa with the score. What a momentum shift on the back of the defense from the Bay Area Falcons, taking a 3-point lead.
And getting that downwind break, completing the break set. A point delayed, but still getting that break set, which is certainly to their advantage. With Cardosa scoring it, the finalist for Breakout Player of the Year on the Bay Area Falcons squad.
Yeah, usually known for her defensive plays. I think she had one game this season where she had 3 foot blocks, which was just a delightful highlight to have. If you haven't seen that, go back and find it. But in this case, making an offensive impact. And I feel like I have to be very proud because she was one of my players when I coached her at college at USC. I can't take credit for teaching her everything that she knows, though, because she has really taken on a lot and improved. This is not her first season necessarily in the WUL. She was coming off of an injury in previous seasons as a practice player. And then as we hear that time go out, Colorado has possession of this disc. So it's not a buzzer beater, even though Nelson puts it deep into space. Thorpe snatches it out of air. They just have to take possession. The clock no longer matters. Still outside the end zone. McLaughlin turns the corner, tracking it down from Bristol Lavoie, and Colorado holds as we end the first quarter.
What an incredible display from Colorado's offense under pressure to be able to take those shots, move the ball, and close it out at the end of quarter.
It's been an exciting one, but right now, Bay Area Falcons are up 7-5. More coming soon from the second semifinal.
Creatine is only for extreme athletes who eat dominance.
Actually, let's skip that part. Combat Candy is for everyone who trains hard and deserves better than choking down powder. 5 grams of science-backed creatine in a gummy that turns supplement routine into something to look forward to. Just because your workout is serious business doesn't mean your creatine supplement needs to be. Combat Candy. Making strength frickin' delicious. Try it at combatcandies.com.
It was an exciting first quarter in this semifinal. This was the last possession from Colorado Alpenglow. The reigning MVP, Abby Thorpe, reaches behind to snag that out of the air and then goes towards the end zone. And it was Bristol Lavoie to Jade McLaughlin, who turns the corner and reads that disc almost perfectly.
With 2 Bay Area defenders on her. In fact, the fact that Lavoie's throw actually went out and around behind was to McLaughlin's advantage because it allowed them to seal out the Bay Area defenders to catch that uncontested.
There's been some big defensive plays, but only 4 turns in the first quarter. Very clean possession from both teams. Bay Area's defense has been 2 for 3 of break chances, and they get another one intended for Velvman and popped up. Chen, can they make it 3 for 4? Cardosa to Chen, almost blocked by Kawabata, but it's Cardosa to Chang, I believe, inbounds for the quick break out of the quarter. What a show defensively the Bay Area Falcons are putting on right now.
I don't think that Colorado is ready for how tight the Bay Area defense is right now. Earlier in the game, we were talking about how there didn't seem to be a whole lot of defensive pressure, and that has certainly ramped up from the Bay Area.
That was a close one from Chen. Cardosa giving it to Miri Chang, who gets in both feet inbounds after knocking the pylon over. So I think it was like, technically the pylon is out of bounds, but gets both feet inbounds before retaining possession. Really great work from our observing team to watch that all the way to the end. 5 points for Colorado, 8 for the Falcons. A newer line here, changing it up for Colorado. We see Mimic and Pesh. Mimic putting that up and past 4 potential receivers, but no one really the intended recipient. Chen picking up the other direction. Jacqueline Nguyen now in the middle. Out to the far side. Shayna Brock gets it back. Or sorry, excuse me. That's Olivia Goss. Olivia Goss was originally slated as a reserve player for this game, but Vicky Chen not able to play, so Goss coming in on the roster and contributing there. As we see Jacqueline Nguyen with the disc, 10 yards outside of the end zone, and another break for Bay, and this time it's Chen to Munson, up by 4.
Bay Area is taking control of this game. They are absolutely lethal with their opportunities once they have gotten a turn through their defensive pressure.
That's 4 of 5. That's a crazy efficient breaks on this side. I wouldn't be surprised if I see a team take a timeout at this point, because coming out of that quarter break, Colorado was just broken twice. Upwind and downwind. This game is Bay's, and I think it speaks honestly to the strength of their season. Colorado Alpenglow didn't play the Bay, and they didn't play Seattle. The only team in the top 4 that they played was San Diego Superbloom, and that game was stopped at the third quarter. There was lightning. It was a whole, honestly, mess of a game. That was really a difficult game, even though it was a win for them. It was only 10-7. And not having faced the Bay and this intense defensive pressure for 2 years, it's just causing miscue after miscue as we see Thorpe misfire for Dixon. Carnahan goes upfield. Now Cardoso with the disc. Resets. Now for Miri Chang. Cardosa. Scoobers to Carnahan, to the bidding. Morgan Greenwood. The break train continues. The Falcons home crowd is fired up, as they should be. What a catch from Morgan Greenwood, preserving their perfect second quarter.
We're seeing a timeout call here by Colorado. just as you predicted. While those timeouts are so useful because you can sub players in the middle of a point, and that is essential and important, but at this point in time, you have to stop the bleeding. The Bay is doubling the score of Colorado. And again, like this strength of schedule, there just hasn't been this challenge for them before. They have been just stomping teams. And so, yes, there have been some tighter games, but there hasn't been this level of sustained pressure for Colorado. And so they do need that moment to come together and regroup. They thought a lot about, during that San Diego game, about what it meant to win those lightning delays and win the second half and coming out to try to challenge San Diego. And so I think a question for Colorado right now is, what can they do to come out and win this time out?
We're going to go down to Jenna Weiner, who's on the field, talking about what it's like to be on the sideline.
Thanks, Katie. Yeah, the energy difference down here on the field is absolutely incredible. The Falcons are fired up, really supported by this home crowd. Colorado seems stunned, honestly, to what y'all were saying. They have largely cruised through this season. That last close game against San Diego, the only real question mark on their record coming into this weekend. And Falcons have really punched them in that mouth, that defensive efficiency, as you're talking about, for the Falcons' defensive line offense, really making its mark here in the first half.
Colorado on offense again. Thanks, Jenna. Ari Nelson, Hannah Mimek, thinking about that deep shot to Veldman. Instead, moving to the middle of the field, Pesh, the only lefty on the team, with the lefty flick to Veldman, and the Colorado hold after the timeout.
That is the beginning of what it would look like for Colorado to win this timeout. I think that a player like Rory Veldman is going to need to have the game of their lives in order for Colorado to make a comeback. Veldman leading the team in plus minus with a plus 24 of, and their plus minus rating is goals plus assists plus blocks minus turnovers. So Veldman can be that player that the team rallies around to make a difference in this comeback, because they're going to have to be getting those breaks, and that's going to come from the D-line, and Veldman's expected to hold down that D-line.
Well, we're seeing one of the captains of Colorado with the disc now, Robin Fassett-Carman, who can also be a defensive engine for this team, but somebody's going to have to be an energy leader because they are down by 4. But there is still a lot of time left in this game. So if you're used to looking at scores like this when we're playing to a point total, you might be lulled into a sense that this game is out of reach. But not quite. Pfennig, it's bobbled by Zalk.
Pfennig looking down at their hands, not quite getting the release they were looking for.
And a layout catch and then drop by Talia Ward does not matter, because I believe a timeout was called with Zalk having the disc, which is a factor of this rule set, and I think really played into Bay's favor right there.
Megan Maxfield clearly being frustrated about that call, and very much within the gamemanship of the way this works. Colorado did a great job playing team defense there. Zalk had to throw that up at late in the stall count. That was why the timeout was called, because it was so clear that stall count was rising and there wasn't a clear open option like there had been before. So Colorado really is doing their job and upping that defensive intensity and making those windows small.
I like what Coach Madison Olesen did there is he left the players of that line, that defensive unit that was really working, and just let them talk. So Robin Fassett-Carman was actually taking the lead in that huddle. Bay, on the other hand, has a couple of personnel changes. Pfennig is going to have the disc. It was Zalk. Zalk, I think, is off the field now, as we're seeing a lot more of this offensive line with Sarah Carnahan in the ISO space. Goes around to Ward. Ward now for Win. Win to Maru. To Weeby. Weeby has been one of the stat leaders for this team. They have been not necessarily reflected at the top of the leaderboard in any particular category because they do play such balanced offense, except for Melina Weeby, who has such a nose for the end zone and makes this play look really easy.
Weeby had 8 goals in the regular season, tied with 4 other players for first.
But I believe she also has the all-time Falcons, one of their goal-scoring records as well, in her previous seasons before she has there. But in the postseason now, seeing if those records will roll over as they try to punch their ticket into the final, which will be here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific. The winner of this game will face San Diego Super Bloom, who took down Seattle Tempest earlier today in a 1-point game. At no point in that game did either team lead by 5, but Bay Area currently up by that much. Nelson with the disc for Colorado. Wide for Kawabata. Not able to get flow on this side. Has to reset. Nelson. Sky from Kawabata putting the backhand out into space. Thorpe has it. Another one for Thorpe.
For this game for Thorpe, Thorpe celebrations always emphatic.
Yeah, the second assist for Kawabata. It's interesting because there isn't a lot happening necessarily upfield. The handlers don't have good resets, and then when they do, Abby Thorpe is just there in the space.
When we think about the keys to the game for Colorado, one of the keys to the game for Colorado was to be able to execute multiple looks. You know, they weren't sure what was going to happen, you know, defensively from the Bay and what to expect. And so, you know, in preparation for that, they wanted to be able to have their offense flex. And that's a great key to the game. And I don't think they've been able to truly do that successfully.
Well, if they are going to get some breaks back in this game, that pole landing out of bounds doesn't give them a great chance to do it, although their defense will get to set as Fenig centers the disc where it went out of bounds.
The Falcons certainly grateful that Tempest has been taken out of this championship weekend race. Seattle Tempest beating them twice in the regular season. I suspect they would much prefer to face Super Bloom if they can seal this game against Colorado.
But there's no real easy games at this point in the season at championship weekend. The last game's decided by 1 game as Ward goes toward the end zone. The layout, but not the catch from Weeby. A little bit too much spice on that throw. And it is the first turnover since the 4th point. And I believe the first break chance for Colorado in the game.
With halfway through the second quarter, that's an incredible offensive team stand that the Falcons have had so far this game.
Colorado. Pesh with the disc to Daniels. Veldman. Big backhand from Veldman, but it's too far. Intended for Shayna Brock, but a foul call on the throw. You can see Veldman shaking her hand there after some contact with Weeby. And here's another look at it. It looks like the foot on the follow through, honestly. I don't know if that affected the disc, but this one is going to come back to Veldman.
Wiebe didn't contest.
Veldman, high release backhand to Rachel Stockdale. Daniels almost does the splits on that reception. Centering to Pesh. The handler switches aren't letting Colorado get upfield. Veldman pivoting. And a timeout from the Colorado coaches. I heard a whistle, but maybe I'm seeing a stall being signaled. Unclear. If maybe the whistle came after the stall. Bay Area goes back. Khalees Cardenas goes. Wiebe a little bit too far again. She is speedy, but they are making her work. It looks like an injury being called from Wiebe after those two big layouts. I don't blame her at all for needing to take a break and making sure that your body is okay after that kind of impact.
Well, thinking about both of those throws to Wiebe, they're dying. They're not sitting at the end, and that's the impact of this downwind end zone. And Wiebe is making incredible athletic plays to try to make up for it, but those throws need a little bit more float on them to give Wiebe enough space to get under it.
We talked about at the beginning of broadcast that the Bay Area isn't great in their hucking percentage, and that's why it's just a little bit too far for their receivers. It's dying or it's not sitting long enough. Stat's going to stat. You have to use it because they really do tell you, they help us tell a better story of the game. Colorado on offense, it is a defensive block, but it looks like now a timeout is going to be called by the Colorado coaching staff on their now second break opportunity of this game.
And that makes it their last timeout of this first half. They have no more opportunities.
As we take a timeout here, we'd like a chance to thank our sponsors, Discraft, as the presenting sponsor of all broadcasts here at the Western Ultimate League. And Friction Gloves are the official glove of the WUL. I don't think that Melina Wiebe would have caught that if she was wearing gloves, but she certainly might have gotten a little bit closer. So thank you to all of our sponsors and all of you watching for helping make this possible. It has been an absolute privilege to be part of the Western Ultimate League, who is presenting female and non-binary athletes, as well as commentating staff and observers and our board and everything else. We're really looking to push the envelope on more representation in sports.
And so much of it is credited to Manisha Dariani, nicknamed Slap, who is one of the Falcons coach, was just there in your screen, is a huge part of the Western Ultimate League as an organization, on top of being a coach of this Falcons roster.
Big throw going up from Nelson. McLaughlin gets it. Kawabata, a lot of yards on that one throw. Kawabata backhand, and it's a D by Morgan Greenwood, who now goes upfield to Munson. Stepanidis finding Goss. Chen looking back to the same side of the field, finding Pugh. Far side intended for Greenwood, but a little bit too far. I don't know if Thorpe got a piece of that, but it gives Colorado a third break opportunity. This is more turnovers in this point than we had the entire first quarter.
And a half.
Veldman, big backhand, but Stepanidis blocks McLaughlin.
Stephanitis, credit there for checking her shoulder to be able to throw up that arm to get that block while still having her body face her person.
3 turns apiece on this point. A big momentum shift, change of play as we see Goss getting upfield for captain Eliza Chang. Greenwood now with the disc. Pugh, we saw throw the turnover a little bit too far. Now in the middle of the field, and it's a drop from Chang, trying too hard. Those inside angles with a horizontal cut from the receiver are so difficult. Another big shot from Colorado. This one lands out of bounds. 4 turns apiece. There were 4 turns in the first quarter and 3 in this quarter. This point now has 8 turnovers. What a change in momentum. Charlie, what does that tell you about what's happening on the field?
I think the Falcons have shown this season that they can be lured into trying to play the style of offense of the team that they are playing. And I think that that's what's happening here, where they're taking riskier shots. They're looking to hit some of those hucks that Colorado has been hitting. And now that they're having those mistakes and miscues, they're out of their head, they're out of their element. And so it's not just the decision making of taking those long shots. Both of these last 2 turns have been drops, and it's getting to their head, so you're seeing the execution errors.
Thorpe now upfield for Veldman. McLaughlin gets the reset. A blade from McLaughlin. Too much for Thorpe. Almost gets there. 2 defenders, 5 turnovers now apiece. A change in momentum. Bay has not proven, like you were saying, Charlie, that they can really get up. I don't know if this I think the disc is going to stay where it was, but McLaughlin is calling an injury, being replaced by Megan Maxfield, as well as Bay Area is taking an ancillary substitution as well. Midi Chang coming on the field.
With only just over a minute left in this half, I think that this point, both teams will be really happy to leave behind them as they move into the second half, and that they will have the opportunity to regroup during the halftime so that they can come back with that energy from the first quarter and bring that into the second half.
I was like, maybe it's a brilliant master stroke by Slap to just eat 8 minutes off of the clock in this time. Although, knowing Manisha Daryani, there is no way that she would advocate for this many turnovers or drops in a point. But if it was a strategic way, because Bay Area starts this point on offense. This is their offensive. Han Chen putting one deep, intended for Miri Chang. Nelson on the field for Maxfield. And Nelson being guarded by Chang. Back for Dixon. Veldman in the middle of the field, right around that halfway mark. Big backhand going up for who else but Abby Thorpe.
That is a break for Colorado.
Well, they took their sweet time about getting it, but every break counts as we see Abby Thorpe wearing the Beware of Dogs sign again. Veldman, the backhand on that, the line that she was able to put on that disc, flying perfectly. I feel like the defenders, there's so little angle on that disc. It's really a difficult reception. Abby Thorpe showing why she was the league MVP last year.
I think you're talking about those backhands, and I think that is a strategic switch that the Falcons made. So earlier in the game, they were primarily forcing forehand, and these last number of points have mostly been either force middle or force backhand. And I think that there are a number of players, Kawabata, Veldman, who really love to throw their backhands deep, and so it's incentivizing them to do that. And the Falcons have been able to get blocks or have been able to have some miscues that have been happening with some of the swirly wind, or like you say, those discs are tailing, and so they're not able to complete those passes, which has led to more of these Colorado turnovers.
25 seconds on the clock. As a reminder, once that horn goes, whichever team is in possession then can run out that possession until either a score or a turnover happens. 11 seconds now with Ward back in possession of the disc. Fenig on the far side. It's Jacqueline Nguyen. Again, that is now confirmed that Bay Area will have this possession. Can they extend their lead? Carnahan upfield. And it's almost a score, but a turnover. Talia Ward signaling a no call, so Bay Area doesn't get that score, but they are still in control of this game. They are up 11-8.
An emphatic first half performance from the Bay Area Falcons. One of the open questions in this game is, how is Colorado going to do outside of Colorado? Will they be able to repeat that performance when it's the Bay Area at home? And right now, Bay Area has the crowd with them. They have the energy. They feel like they are in control. And when they are playing in control, Colorado is having a hard time keeping up.
I would say I agree with you, but there was such a lack of control in that game. There were 9 turnovers that led to that first Colorado break. Such a change that we saw from almost the entire rest of the game.
If you take out that 1 point, the rest...
Are we allowed to take out outliers in this? Are we manipulating the data set? Unclear if we're allowed to do that. But as these teams go to halftime, we're going to see if we can get Jenna Weiner down on the field with assistant coach Byron Liu for the Bay Area Falcons.
Thanks, Kate. Byron, great first half for the Falcons. Your defensive line's offense was very efficient. Was that a shift in mentality or just a matter of really great execution from the players out on the field?
I think it's a matter of great execution. I think all season we've been working on finding the small spaces because a lot of defenses are kind of coming out into space. So being able to take advantage of that with quick movement has been what we're focusing on.
You have a night game at home, hosting championship weekend. What's it been like for the team to get ready to host all these amazing teams this weekend here in the East Bay area?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I think the team has risen to the challenge, both kind of being welcoming, setting up, helping set up, do all the volunteering, and just being stoked to be able to play in Champ Weekend. So everyone's very excited.
Second half, y'all have let some second half leads slip a bit over in the regular season. What's the message going to be to the team at halftime to make sure that doesn't happen this time around?
I think we know what we need to do. I think we're out here to ruin someone's day. Coming in as the 4 seed is a great opportunity to see what happens and play hard.
Sounds good. Thank you, Byron. We're going to come back with another interview at the end of halftime. Thanks.
More to come in championship weekend. One more half to decide who will join San Diego Super Bloom in the finals. Don't go anywhere. Another exciting half of Ultimate to come.
so fired up, I just jumped out of my seat.
Wow. What a beautiful grab.
I want you to hold me, ride this with me.
Creatine is only for extreme athletes who eat dominance
Actually,
for
let's skip that part. Combat Candy is for everyone who trains hard and deserves better than choking down powder. 5 grams of science-backed creatine in a gummy that turns supplement routine into something to look forward to. Just because your workout is serious business doesn't mean your creatine supplement is to be. Combat Candy. Making strength frickin' delicious. Try it at combatcandies.com.
It has been an exciting first half in the semifinal of WUL Championship weekend, where Bay Area Falcons lead Colorado Alpenglow 11-8. Charlie, what an electrifying first half we had.
There have been play after play that players have made. An early grab by Melina Wiebe leading to a quick score for the Falcons. Wiebe all over this field, scoring for the Falcons. I think that both teams have come out fiery, but the Falcons firmly took control of this game. But Abby Thorpe, goal after goal. It's why they were the 2024 MVP of the WUL. Robin Fennig, a player who's known for being a handler, scoring goals. Incredible block. The Falcons really a dominant performance to take them to the point where they were doubling up by 5 Colorado. But this last point of the second quarter is really what made the difference in this game. It was a messy point where we saw more turns in that final point than we had so far in the game previous. Again, we see Thorpe reading space with their tenacity and able to just come down with disc after disc. And the way that they do it, they are such a dog. So much swagger.
5 goals so far. We'll see if Abby Thorpe can add to that total. More coming as we finish this second half at WUL Championship weekend. Western Ultimate League Championship weekend is underway, thanks in part to Discraft, the presenting sponsor of all broadcasts. And the official disc sponsor of the Western Ultimate Leagues, Friction Gloves, are the official glove of the WUL. Breakmark is the WUL's official apparel provider. And Combat Candy is the premier sponsor of the Western Ultimate League. Thank you for joining us in this broadcast. If you're just joining us, you missed some exciting first half action where Bay Area Falcons lead Colorado Alpenglow, who are currently down by 3. We're going to join Jenna Weiner on the field, who's going to talk to Colorado Alpenglow coach Madison Olison now.
Thanks, Katie. Here with Coach Olson from Colorado. Coach, in a little bit of a hole in that first half, what were the Falcons doing particularly effectively, or what was the issue for your team that sort of got y'all off to the slow start, especially in that second quarter?
Yeah, I mean, Falcons have been playing really well. They've been keeping possession of the disc throughout. Some of our other opponents previously would give us a couple chances. Falcons aren't doing that, so more power to them. Their Hucks have been going their way, and we're expecting that to change second half. So really working on that foresight, really working on that defense is going to win us this game.
And speaking of adjusting and settling into the second half, this is the first time that this Alpenglow team has played at this stadium, if not ever, certainly in a while. What's sort of the message to the team as y'all get sort of acclimated to the wind, which is still up as you head into the second half?
Yeah, I mean, wind plays an effect into it. Our team's really focused on us. So how can we support each other throughout the game? How could we be a sideline presence? How are we going to pull through? Wind isn't uncontrollable. We'll keep working from here.
Sounds good. Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks.
Back to you in the booth.
We're going to have to see if Colorado Alpenglow can get their defensive chops going in this second half. But as we look at the picture of what happened in that first half and looking at some of the stats of this season, what really stands out to you, Charlie, as the story of this game?
I think that it has to be the conversion rate off of break opportunities. The Falcons were 5 for 6 on their D-line conversion opportunities, and the Alpenglow were 1 for 6. Their O-line conversion, 7 for 13, right? That is the same, but it was the ability to convert on break chances for the D-line that's what's made a difference for the Bay Area Falcons.
I think the other thing that's standing out to me, honestly, is the low number of blocks. Only 2 blocks for the Falcons and 1 block for Alpenglow. A lot of the turnovers are team pressure or timing pressure, spacing pressure, but not actual hand-on disc blocks. And I think that if Colorado wants to make a comeback in this game, we're going to have to see someone come up big. We've seen Rory Veldman come up big in the past, or Megan Maxfield, Alicia Dixon. A lot of the people that are on that line for Colorado Alpenglow as Bay Area Falcons are starting on offense. They're going a little bit upwind to start the second half, but Colorado, they could mount a break.
Thinking about the keys to the game that the coaches gave me, Colorado coaches said that they wanted to be able to execute multiple looks. That's an offensive focus. They wanted to use their depth. That's a team focus. And they wanted to force the Bay to use their reset game. That was their defensive focus, and that focus is an isolated focus, not this team-wide pressure that they need.
Well, that pressure right there was a really quick Veldman tried to connect with McLaughlin, who couldn't get it after laying out, but the defensive pressure, and honestly the pull, it sailed for so long and then landed inbounds. Fennig turned the disc over, trying in that reset space, but really difficult to start on what we sometimes call coffin corner, where you're trapped on that end zone line, as we see it now going upfield to Carnahan. Carnahan finding Alexi Zolk. Resets to Fennig in the middle of the field. Big flick going up. Zolk, who had just dished it, gets that one back after the defensive pressure from McLaughlin. Ward gets the bounce reset. Volbrecht goes upline, but a big throw intended for the end zone. Rory Veldman gets the block. Megan Maxfield catches it. Weeby and Carnahan kind of collide in that space. It looks a little confused but Megan Maxfield is standing there holding the frisbee. Veldman slightly out of frame on her knees after that sky of the pile. But it's actually, I think, a stall for Ward. But this doesn't make sense to me because that would have been a turnover unless it's a foul being called.
It is a turnover.
I see. Okay, great. Because I was going to say Ward should not get this disc back, but I see it was an uncontested stall. Therefore, the disc coming in there. A break chance again for Colorado as Daniels connects with Facet Carmen. Veldman and Daniels, Dixon now, and inside to Veldman. What a quick reaction that was as Veldman gets a block and flips it to Lavoie for the score. Lavoie, one of the most improved pieces of this Alpenglow side, and Colorado Alpenglow start it off with a break.
That was a tough inside shot that Dixon hit to Veldman, and Veldman is then able to use that advantage where they're in front of their defender to be able to hit Lavoie with that leading pass for the score there.
Brings it back within 2. The start of the second quarter was all Bay, but then we had that very long, messy point to end the first half, which was a break for Colorado. And now they come out in the second half with a break.
You know what this is reminiscent of?
What is it reminiscent of, Charlie?
It makes me think of that San Diego game.
Tell me more.
It's about those breaks. It's about those timelines. It starts to get messy. San Diego was up early in the game, and then with all of those lightning delays, Colorado is coming out, and they're coming out hard, and they're working to win those breaks. They had that timeout, and that timeout that they took was the inflection point before that point with 4 turns aside. And it has really been the difference maker. We're not seeing the clean and crisp offense from the Bay Area Falcons. Their passes are now contested by Colorado.
Not making a lot of yardage gains. Still before half field. Ward with the disc for Bay Area. Big flick going up, I think intended for Fenig, and Fenig hits Weeby in the end zone. The outlet for the Bay Area, getting them on the board in the second half. Leading by 3.
Colorado there was fronting, and that's a very intentional choice. Can they separate the cutters? Look how much space on the screen from where the handlers are to where the downfield is. It was a huge amount of space, and by fronting them, they're incentivizing that huck. That was a late stall count huck to Fenig. It doesn't have the most touch. Fenig is catching it under pressure. Fenig, great receiver, able to come down with it. But that is, while a point for the Bay, is still a contested point and a team win for Colorado because they are forcing the Bay to score in their second or third preferred way, not that quick handler movement that is their ideal.
They held them on their own half for the majority of that point without letting them gain almost even an inch, as we see Nelson picking up for this Colorado O-line side. Hecht to Thorpe. Tightly guarded by Greenwood, finds Ito. And the block by Munson on the reset intended for Nelson. A break chance, the first in the second half, as Han Chen reels one in and immediately launches it. Dixon in pursuit, but it is a score for Eliza Chang, the captain. What an emotional shift from the Falcons.
While there are only 60 seconds between points, it means that teams have to be so efficient with their subbing. And regardless of that, you can still see the entirety of the Falcons roster flooding the field in their joy in this moment. They know what this means. They know that they can turn the tide and they can take back control of this game with plays like that.
What a great block by Munson in the handler space, absolutely sneaking in, almost picking the pocket of Nelson there, looking like she wasn't going to be threatening, and then immediately busting deep, creating space for that other side. Han Chen back on the field. We saw her just throwing a score and is now pulling the disc.
Han Chen leading the team in points played by 20 more points than any other team on the Bay Area team, really indicating how essential she is to this team.
Huck going up from Levin. Veldman tried to read it, but runs a bit into Carnahan, and it floats harmlessly over the heads of the receivers, maybe being pushed a little bit by the wind. The turnover from Colorado. Chen with another chance to start the Bay Area break going downwind. Chen losing yards. Now with Pugh. Upfield for Goss to Carnahan. Wayenberg. Goss going through. It looks like no foul call. Abby Thorpe there with the D.
That was a lot of physicality for there to not be a foul call.
I concur. I'm surprised that there was none. But Colorado with the disc back in their hands. Nelson, big flick. Chen and Veldman playing. Veldman trying to reach around Chen. Chen had the body position there, and Veldman almost plowing through.
Veldman holding out their arm, and it really felt like a stiff arm of Chen. Like, if I were going to reminisce about this foul, I actually think that it is Chen that is being fouled rather than Veldman.
Concur.
I also think that that's a particularly interesting play after the level of contact between Goss and Thorpe that earned this turnover. Something that sideline reporter Jenna was saying is the level of, they expected the level of chippiness to increase. And I'm wondering if we're starting to see that inflection point as the game gets tighter.
And it looks like there was also a stall call on the throw, which is also going to bring it back to Nelson, being marked by Cardosa. Ito now with the disc. Back to Nelson. They unleash a flick. This time intended for Thorpe, and Goss gets one back, and a foul being called by Thorpe.
The Bay Area fans are not happy about that call. They are loud and emphatic.
The players are going to discuss while we get another look as the two players go up. I do think that Thorpe has an argument about the hand being affected, but the observer rules no foul and gives Bay the disc back. Carnahan. Upfield. Goss and Thorpe. Pugh digs it out. Cardosa now with the disc. Goss going deep. Travel called. Cardosa brings it back. Goss on the near sideline thinks about it and does hit Chen, who flips it into the end zone. Wayenberg with the score. This point important.
The score is now 14-9. They are back to being up by 5. But I agree, it is more than just the score. I think there's something about the level of physicality. Colorado was, particularly Abby Thorpe, throwing her body around. They're tightening up their pressure, having layout bids, lots of chances. And the Bay Area is responding with their own level of play, and they're playing their game, and that, I think, is the switch from earlier. They're not being lulled into doing something different. They are still playing to their strengths.
It's interesting to watch what teams and players do when it comes down to these pressure moments. A shorter pull from Bay, the disc at half field, Daniels to McLaughlin. Mimek. Too high for McLaughlin. Colorado with another unforced turnover. Their offense not connecting. Midi Cheng to Molly Munson. Munson, quick inside shot to Stepanidis. And the reset too far for Munson. Unforced turnovers on both sides. Ellie Smith. Back to McLaughlin. Upfield for Daniels. The shame teammates who were USAU national winners together combined for that score for Alpenglow.
Alpenglow using this opportunity to get back on the board, put their D-line back in to try to garner some pressure, doing a great job using that open side, hitting those up lines to score this point and get that momentum rather than some of the standstill hucks that had led to some of the earlier turnovers.
It's interesting to watch players talk about it. We haven't said it in a while, but these two teams didn't play for 2 years leading up to this game. Their only previous meeting was a game that was decided by 1 point. They haven't had a chance to play each other, and they seem to be learning. Bay up by 4 at the moment, but there's 4 minutes left in the third quarter, and the fourth quarter is a quarter that decides champions because the time, the grit, you have to keep playing. These are long games as we see the offensive play start for Bay Area.
Both sets of coaches really talked about the depth of their roster and how we want to rely on the depth of our roster. And we have the advantage in this game because of the depth of our roster. And here in the third and in the fourth, this is the opportunity to see who really has enough depth.
Fenig calling foul on the mark of Facet Carmen as we see a different, I think there's probably a error on the restart there after the pre-stall. Fenig isn't allowed to pivot until that hand goes down. Ward upfield for Maru. Maru to Cardenas. Far side for Volbrecht. And the inside shot is leading to a turnover for the Bay Area again. A break chance for Colorado. Veldman losing yards in the middle of the field, but retains possession. Faking and turning. And that should be a turnover, honestly, because it was a pick that stopped play. You have to catch those discs. That is an unfortunate lapse in focus from Mary Andrews. Fenig picks up. Going downwind in the direction, Maru in the middle of the field, a calming presence from the Falcons captain. Fenig trying to give and go with win. Upfield for Ward, an upline cut from Macy Volbrecht.
Facet Carmen putting her hands on her face as that point is scored. And you can see that with just under 2 minutes left in the third, they know that this is the time that they need to be mounting that comeback. One of the things that I think made a difference that point, and I think is interesting, Colorado has done 16.5% of their points so far as zone points. And they were starting out that in some sort of a trap set of Fenig on the sideline. And that's really one of the first times we've seen this game. And it did earn them a turn. It got them the opportunity to convert.
They did convert. The Bay is up by 5 with just under 2 minutes to play. As we see Han Chen back on the field with the pole for the Falcons.
To be clear, Colorado did not convert on their opportunity that they gained from the zone. Bay was able to get the disc back and still maintain that poise and pressure, that poise under pressure to be able to score their point.
Thorpe with the disc. Cardosa forces Nelson into the deep space, trying to stop the resets, hunting for a block there as Nelson goes full field the other direction, and Thorpe is in the end zone. A quick score for Colorado.
Knowing exactly when to release and bust deep, it is just magic.
It is magic, and I love being able to bring you coverage of it. Combat Candy is the premier sponsor of the Western Ultimate League Championship weekend, as well as Breakmark, the official jersey sponsor of the Western Ultimate League. And they are looking great tonight under the lights. It's been a really back and forth energy game between these two, but Colorado, now that they've been down by 5, they're having trouble gaining inroads against Bay Area because their defense, even though their offense isn't perfect, their defense continues to be mighty. Ward picking up to Fenig in the middle of the field, Carnahan, and Fenig facing that 3-3-1, those wide defenders. Ward trying to get it upfield, but not having a lot of options. Fenig instead. Fenig can also slang as we see that hammer to the far side. Wiebe knew it was coming, dishing to Carnahan. Upfield goes Volbrecht. Volbrecht so good at moving without the disc and creating space. Ward, they elevate up and over the top. Daniels didn't know it was coming. A stall called on Ward again, but that one was in Robin Fenig's hands. Score for the Bay Area Falcons. Ward puts that up and over the defender. Robin Fenig looks relieved that that point was over. The hammer to Wiebe was really special. I feel like as a defender who's played a lot of zones, that is your kryptonite because you're trapping them, you're waiting for the stall count, you're making those resets hard, and then when you have a thrower like Robin Fenig who can just put it to the other side of the field, even in wind, you're like, well, that's what we were giving up.
But I do appreciate this defensive adjustment from Colorado. They know they need to do something that is dramatically different than what they've been doing. And by throwing out these different junks and zone looks, it's creating an opportunity and making the Falcons' offense flex in different ways and getting them out of their rhythm. Something I also want to draw attention to is the number of stalls or possible stalls. There were only 25 stalls called in all of the regular season games combined. And we've had a fifth of that in this one game so far.
But a lot of them have been overturned by the observers, just like that was overturned by Colorado as time runs out. It looks like it happened right before the possession, and Han Chen fumbles that one. 2 fumbles apiece lead to no scores for anyone as the third quarter dies. Both Chen and Kawabata laughing at their own misfortunes in that moment. But don't go anywhere, because everything is still to play for. One more quarter to play at semifinals.
Creatine is only for extreme athletes who eat dominance.
Actually, let's skip that part. Combat Candy is for everyone who trains hard and deserves better than choking down powder. 5 grams of science-backed creatine and a gummy that turns supplement routine into something to look forward to. Just because your workout is serious business doesn't mean your creatine supplement shouldn't be. Combat Candy. Making strength frickin' delicious. Try it at combatcandies.com.
It is championship weekend in the Western Ultimate League. It has been a night of high-flying plays, but this semifinal between Colorado Alpenglow and hometown Bay Area Falcons has yet to be decided. Currently, the Bay Area Falcons are up 16-11 over Colorado Alpenglow, the defending champions of the WUL, but they have a 5-point deficit to make up with 12 minutes to play. Charlie, do you think that they can do it?
No. I'm putting my line out there. I think that the Bay have the pieces. They have struggled throughout the regular season. They have the roster that is truly deeper than Colorado. They have the ability to change their offense, and they are at home. They have the power behind them. They are focused on themselves, and they are playing tight defensive pressure that is upsetting the flow of this Colorado offense.
But Colorado is on offense to start as Pesh gets past the defenders. Dixon, Thorpe towing the line, trying to get momentum going towards the end zone, up and over the defense. Cardoso tries to get it, but can't because Dixon is better positioned with the angle of the throw. Nelson is centered to Lavoie. Pesh coming over to this offensive line. The lefty hammer to Thorpe, and the score for Colorado.
When Colorado is playing light, fast-paced, and airy, that is when Colorado looks their best. The disc didn't stay in anyone's hands for more than about 3 seconds that whole point. And that's a noteworthy thing. When they can bounce the ball, when they are taking shots at sometimes unconventional angles to put the disc out to space and really place it with sharp angles, that is when Colorado looks their best. And that's what we saw showcased in that last point. I'm going to be curious to see if they come down in another zone set here to try to mess things up, or if they're going to go back to person.
Well, I would be interested to see if Abby Thorpe is going to be on this line, because currently responsible for 7 goals on the night. Huge night for Abby Thorpe. More than half of Colorado's scores right now. And if you're going to get a break, no one better to have on the field, but maybe they're saving her from as we see a zone look with Rory Veldman way in the backfield as Fenig centers the disc. A pole play starting to get into motion. Carnahan upfield. Wiebe now giving it back to Pinwin Wang, and a turn.
It almost looked like there was a foul there, but then, Cardenas is saying, no, it's my fault. But it did look like there was just a little bit of contact on that step out.
Veldman to Daniels in the middle of the field. No one really close. Dug out by Lavoie, even though McLaughlin bid for it. Dixon now. Facet Carmen. And the layout attempt doesn't get it. Veldman gets up and puts the backhand into space. The defense comes up huge. Jacqueline Wynn going up over Megan Maxfield. What a block.
That has to be in contention for play of the game.
Look at that focus up and over Maxfield. Maxfield goes up. She elevates over and grabs it before Maxfield can get into that space. It looks like a injury substitution off of the play. Abby Thorpe is going to come back in. Carnahan also on the field.
Just as you called, if you got to score, you got to put Abby Thorpe in. If you want some defensive pressure, you got to put Abby Thorpe in.
One turnover apiece. Fenig brings it to the front of the end zone line. Lots of space up ahead. Cardenas. Inside angle to Carnahan, but the block from McLaughlin. Colorado starting to get some blocks. Thorpe upfield. Lavoie. The score! The captain, Robin Facet Carmen. Colorado gets a break.
Falcons look scared right now. They are playing scared, and Alpenglow has really ramped up the pressure. They are taking the shots again, thinking about which are the shots that they think that they will be successful with, and their shot selection has improved. They're connecting on them, and with this defensive pressure, they are finally getting blocks. They're not just relying on turnovers to gain possession, or errors from the offense to gain possession of the disc. They are generating them.
They are generating more blocks. 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Colorado down by 3. They have a string of breaks that they're going to have to put together in order to take this win away from Bay. Bay tends to play best when they believe that they're the underdog, but they have been dominant so far this game. The flip to Greenwood. Chen goes upline, resets to Midi Chang. Goss to Cardosa. Injury call from Daniels off of the play.
Olivia Goss with the disc in her hands. A Seattle native, a product of that Seattle youth scene. But also part of that age-old connection from moving to the Bay Area from Seattle, back and forth. These two cities like to trade players.
Back in play, Goss resets to Chang. To Pugh. Pugh's been kept quiet tonight. Goss laying out, but bounces out of her hand. Another turn from Bay. Pesh. But Pugh, as I said, she was quiet, gets a block on the turn and gets the disc back. Sometimes I think that commentators, chorus players hear me and say, how dare you tell me I am having a quiet game. But Eliza Pugh is really a player who can change the shape of a game with her throws. Stepanidis going deep. Having to look to reset the disc. Thorpe peeling off onto Goss as we get another stall call by this Colorado Alpenglow side. And they're going to put this as a contest with Hannah Mimic.
I do think that stall was closer to being a full 7 seconds. Some of the previous stalls felt like they were really more like 5 seconds.
I feel like the observers, when they feel very, very strongly, they are overruling those fouls, and a timeout being called, which null and voids all the conversation about stalls, because the stall is going to be reset on this play.
I think a timeout call here makes a lot of sense. We're getting another look at it. If you're counting in your head, that does feel like it is pretty borderline whether or not that throw got off. And I think it's a testament to the Colorado defense that there wasn't a quick look open, and also really belies the importance of the Falcons making sure they get someone to be a quick option to keep that disc moving, because again, it's that quick movement that is both successful for Colorado, but also a hallmark of success for the Falcons.
It's interesting if you think about each throw and catch as like a metronome. When the teams are throwing quickly, throw, catch, throw, catch, throw, catch, the offenses are what we would say having good flow, but neither team is able to connect multiple throws together. They're having to go to their resets. They're having to wait till high in the stall count. There isn't that thing, and I think that's a testament to, like you're saying, Charlie, both teams ramping up their defense in the dying minutes of this game. There's only 7 minutes, 20 seconds on the clock in this fourth quarter. Colorado has had a break. Bay is trying to hold and keep their lead, but Colorado is not going to go away. Colorado's not going to give it to them. This O-line for Bay on the disc. Ward to Maru. Quickly getting it. Looks like Zalk. Zalk upfield for Fenig. Fenig to the back of the end zone. Melina Wiebe gets another one.
One of the keys to the game for San Francisco was their energy, winning the sideline, stopping the Hawks of Colorado with their defensive positioning, but most importantly, their quick disc movement that we've been talking about. And we saw that here in this possession. It was that bing, bang, boom that ended in that goal to Wiebe.
I have 4 goals and an assist for Wiebe, and really spread out pretty evenly over the quarters. Those discs were so crisp into the end zone. I think Bay has actually run into trouble when they're floating the disc, when they're letting it kind of elevate up and down, but choosing those crisper, faster passes on that possession. Colorado trying to go upwind. The wind doesn't seem to have died down significantly, even though the sun has set, which sometimes happens here. Hecht. And a block from McKinley McQuaid, her second of the game. 2 big ones. Midi Chang upfield for Eliza Chang. Han Chen. guarded by Nelson. Physically coming through Goss again. It looks like a foul being an injury called on Goss.
Goss has taken a lot of contacts tonight.
McLaughlin there, the defensive player, as Georgia Cardosa comes on.
A player we were noting earlier for their defensive prowess, but clearly also being trusted offensively coming back onto this line as that injury sub. Or coming onto the line as the injury sub.
Yeah, and maintaining this line cohesion, because this is the defensive line for Bay Area trying to get a break. And they do. It is McKinley McQuaid to Eliza Chang.
Almost with the bookends there for McQuaid. The assist bookend instead of the score. I think the thing that most impresses me about McQuaid's both of her blocks this game have been that she truly set them up. This block that earned this possession was a run-through block, and then able to get the disc with that inside grab there and turn it into throwing that scoring pass is really great work by McQuaid.
As we would maybe call that baiting the D, making the offensive player look open and then turning on the Jets the speed to run past them. McQuaid has really elevated into that defensive space and is one of the big block getters for this Falcons side, and honestly would probably be higher on the leaderboard. But Falcons, one of the teams really impacted because they have so many coaches. They have so many coaches in the college division, in the youth division. Some of them are going to high school national invite. It's a community feel here for the Bay Area as the stands are packed. Kawabata as Colorado is on offense. Veldman to Dixon, flowing upfield. It's Dixon to Kawabata. A smooth score of their own, trying to stop the momentum of the Bay Area break train.
And with emphatic offensive possessions, that is how Colorado can do it. We see nice break by Veldman. This is a great leading inside by Dixon. Dixon has had several of those this game. They are incredibly advantageous windows to hit when they can be successful, and Dixon is connecting on them, and it makes this Colorado offense look good. And one of the factors here as we get late in the game is that with the huge number of breaks that the Bay Area has gotten over the course of this game, the Colorado O-line has spent more time on the field than the Bay Area O-line. And so players are going to get tired. And yes, both of these teams are deep. You have lots of people that you can cycle into these positions, but there's also a lot to be said for that cohesion. And the cohesion of the Colorado O-line matters.
Right now they're on defense, trying to see if they can get a break of their own. Back to Fenig in the middle of the field. Fenig and Ward working together. Looks off. Pugh finds Volbrecht as the Alpenglow defenders try to switch into the spaces. Ward with the inside flick and the block, and immediate injury call from Veldman, who picks that out of the sky.
That's incredible field awareness by Veldman to not only know, to see that that disc is coming, but then also the ups to be able to touch it and make that play. Who else would come in for Veldman except for one Abby Thorpe?
Injury subs from both teams as the injured player can come off, but also the opposing team can also get one set of fresh legs as well.
And there were actually 2 injury subs for Colorado, so you're seeing 2 Falcons players changing as well. Again, we're late in the game, and so the benefit of having fresh legs is important, and so you really want to be matching that.
they're figuring out who exactly they want in those positions. It looks like Nelson is also going to come on in this exchange of players.
I'll give you some, you give me some.
That's pretty much what it looks like. Although with players coming from both sidelines, sometimes it can be confusing if there's mixed messaging about which player you wanted on the field. But coaches have the right to pick exactly which personnel they want to exchange during those injury time or time breaks, essentially. As Colorado has the disc, Hannah Mimak. Looks like a pick. A foul upfield between, it looks like Cardenas and Nelson. It looks like a timeout also being taken. Goodness gracious. I feel like we've just discussed the rule book right now. Coaching staff taking a timeout or arguing about a timeout and where the disc actually was when they called it. Looking to get some clarity here. But as we take a break in this game, how do you feel about how the pauses affect the emotional intensity of this game? Timeout taken by Colorado.
I think that the pauses benefit Colorado. I do think that Colorado is playing their top stars more frequently, and so it gives them a chance to rest their legs. And I do think that Colorado is benefiting. They're able to bounce back from these breaks with this added momentum, and I think that the Bay Area wants to push through and are doing best with that continuation of play.
Well, somebody who had a little bit better perspective on it than we did was Jenna Weiner down on the sideline. Jenna, can you tell us a little bit about what was happening during that pause?
Not entirely sure, and the Colorado coaches are still talking about it with the observers, but seemingly Nelson felt some contact from Cleese Cardenas and called a foul, but also potentially a timeout was trying to be called by Colorado at that same time. Unclear if it was coming from the sideline or from the players involved, but nonetheless, Colorado, as you were saying, is going to benefit from taking this little bit of a breather, under 5 minutes to play. And the energy, though, is staying pretty frenetic. And, I mean, with electrifying plays like we saw from Rory Veldman, no surprise that the energy in the stadium is a bit on edge as the Falcons try and hold on to this lead.
About to come back into action.
What you said there, Jenna, hold on to this lead, is exactly, I think, the dynamic of this game, where it's Colorado is chomping at the doorstep and they're trying to take it.
A foul behind the play. Miri Chang going down after contact with Lavoie, calling a foul, so that this disc should come all the way back to Lavoie, where they're having a discussion with head observer, and you can see a little bit where Chang goes down. Unsure of the level of contact there, but certainly something was called, which is what stopped play.
She got stepped on. That's what had her fall over. Is my read of the replay.
It is a foul contest.
And I do think that, the argument here is because I got stepped on and I fell down, I was unable to set a mark, and that allowed Colorado to be able to throw the break down the field, which is what put them in front of the offense and had them go off to the races. So there is a viable argument of the competitive advantage.
Yeah, looking at that again, just maybe some foot contact, but back in play. Lavoie with the disc, resetting wide and backward to Kawabata. Lavoie upfield close to the sideline, but caught by McLaughlin. Thorpe to the far side, floating for Ito. Thinks about the big backhand, but there's a lot of stagnation with the cutters in the middle of the field. Now unleashes it towards the back of the end zone, and it's out the back. It looks like a foul being called, but the only contact I saw was actually between McLaughlin and and Facet Carmen. Chen wasn't involved to my eye at all.
And Chen is really signaling that it was out the back of the end zone, and so it wasn't going to be playable anyway.
Here's another look at it, and it does look like the foul there was McLaughlin coming into Facet Carmen. Friendly fire, as it were, but you can see where Han Chen is standing right now is out the back of the end zone. So that disc did land inbound. So I think it was catchable, not actually out the back, but certainly flirting with that back end zone line.
I think Chen does a great job holding position there, and by taking their line of what they think the ideal place to jump for the disc would be and holding that, it does make it a really challenging catch for Facet Carmen.
I can't stress enough how much these stoppages are affecting the flow of the game. We have taken almost twice the amount of time that it has taken to get off the clock. Finally, Ito and Thorpe too far, almost D'd, but McLaughlin's hands instead. Kawabata right near the end zone line. McLaughlin unguarded. Chen finally puts on a mark. Up and over the top, and this time it's a score for Colorado. Players are laughing almost because the stoppages, there's nothing really else to do as a player if you don't know what's happening other than talk to the person that you're standing next to. And you're like, well, I guess we're stopping again. But getting a look at this score up and over the top, McQuaid laughing, knowing that Thorpe got one. As you can see, the two players celebrating. I honestly can see why Han Chen is frustrated, though, because if those players had had the benefit of the replay that we saw, I think you can clearly see that the foul came from there. Obviously, players are allowed to talk it out, but in that case, I think that was the wrong conclusion. I think that should have been a turn.
And I think that we're starting to see a pattern of calls from Colorado that are giving them an advantage. And it's not just the stoppage of play that creates the advantage, but it's also gaining from what's happening in those stoppages. And, ultimate frisbee is a sport that is founded on spirit of the game and trusting that your opponents are going to be playing by the same rule set, and that they are making calls in good faith. And that is what we trust. And there is a little bit of a beginnings of a breakdown happening right now with Colorado in that realm.
We'll see what happens. Although it is notable that with that score, Abby Thorpe has now set a new single game record with 8 goals for Colorado. We'll see. There's still time for her to get on the board again. Bay Area on offense. Cardenas centering it, getting it back. Ward. I don't know that I've seen Ward throw very many backhands tonight. Really going with the flick and a turnover. A break chance for Colorado. Lavoie on the field, being marked by Ward. Mary Andrews now centers to Megan Maxfield. Maxfield to Lavoie, getting closer. Defense cheers from the stands, shaking the audience, and a miscue from Colorado. Fenig picks up again.
This would be a great time to call a timeout. I think that the Falcons offense is a little bit rattled, and taking the opportunity to regroup.
Well, I feel like Coach Manisha Terriani agrees with you, because a timeout is taken in this moment with under 2 minutes to play. It's going to, I think, go back to Macy Volbrecht, who had the disc at the time that the timeout was called. But you can see Coach Manisha Terriani walking on as they figure out where exactly the disc goes. What is your take on this?
In this moment, it is the It is the Falcons who need to focus on the Falcons and be with themselves. They've had a season of ups and downs. They've won games. They've lost games. They've had tight pressure. They've played zone. They've played person. They've thrown hucks. They've thrown breaks. They've done all of these things. And right now, it's about them focusing on themselves and the controllables. And when they move the ball quickly, when they play with heart and with passion and with confidence, that's when the Falcons look like a championship team.
The question is, can they harness that championship energy for the next 1 minute and 39 seconds of being on the clock? Because they are 3 points up, but we have seen leads like this slip away. When I asked you at the beginning of half, if you thought that Colorado, or at the beginning of this quarter, if you thought that Colorado could come back, has your answer changed at all? Having seen the last 10 minutes of play as we get into action?
I think we're gonna find out in this next 90 seconds whether or not my prediction.
It's why we watch sports. The fake from Fenig laying Veldman out. Ward with the disc to Nguyen, who bobbles it. Dixon doesn't hesitate, going the other direction. Another break chance for Colorado. Daniels upfield for Veldman. Veldman backhand to the far end zone course. Lavoie in pursuit, not able to get it too far from Veldman. 2 turnovers apiece, and
with only 62 seconds left on the clock, this plays to the Bay's advantage. They have all of the time in the world. All they need to do is play keep away and burn the clock with a 3-goal lead in this semifinal game.
Hammer for a reset because the options are drying up for the Bay Area Falcons. Maru now centering Nguyen, looking to go upfield. Wiebe dishing to Zalk. Zalk to Fenig. Maru. They're moving the disc a little bit faster, not necessarily worried about gaining yards, but more running out the clock as we pass the 30 seconds left to play. 25 as the disc goes to Fenig upfield. Big flick from Fenig into the end zone, and it's Wiebe for the score with 16 seconds for Colorado. It feels like the bell has begun to toll for Alpenglow.
That was an emphatic possession from the Bay. Coach Dariani from the sideline has to be filled with such pride at the way the team was happy to just maintain possession and kill the clock. And then as that minute was winding down, Fenig saw a shot that she liked, seeing Wiebe heading toward the end zone and taking advantage of that opportunity. Up by 4 with only 16 seconds left, we are now hitting the point that it becomes just about statistically impossible to come back.
Because we count the time that the disc is flying in the air. On these polls, Fenig going to come back on the line for this one in what might be the final possession of the game. But again, if the clock runs out, Colorado would still have possession, but they wouldn't be able to notch multiple points that they need. Nelson, 5. To Pesh, 1. The clock runs out. And while Colorado goes down the field, they may score this one, going to captain Sarah Ito, but it's a little too late for the returning champs, Alpenglow, as they embrace in the end zone, and the Falcons flood the field. What a win for the Bay Area Falcons in front of their home crowd.
Bay Area has so much to be proud of. It was the way that they really started this game with that killer offensive efficiency and that discipline that led them to take such a definitive lead. And while Colorado was working to mount a comeback, they had built up too much of a lead to be able to close that gap. There were many emotional shifts throughout this game, but the Falcons, with that early, definitive, clean statement, showed that they are a championship contender.
And Abby Thorpe proving why she won MVP last year with a huge 8-goal game. But it was the depth of the Falcons, the full team play, and their focus on defensive intensity throughout all 4 quarters that have led them to advancing to the Western Ultimate League Championship. They are going to face San Diego Superbloom tomorrow in the final at 3 p.m. The 2-seed San Diego Superbloom. There was one team that they didn't play in the regular season, and that was the Bay Area Falcons. We have another mystery set in the final, which should be super exciting. And also at 12 p.m., the 3-4 game, Colorado Alpenglow is going to face Seattle Tempest. And both of these teams have also not played each other, and I'm very excited to see what those two teams are going to bring as they battle for bronze.
Colorado, a team that likes to move the disc quickly and huck it. Tempest, also a team that likes to move the disc quickly and huck it. And so their styles are much more evenly matched. And so it'll be much more of a conversation of who can do that thing better. Again, we'll have the Bay Area with their small ball. They really, like you said, were successful because of their defensive intensity. And when I think about Superbloom, the hallmark of Superbloom is the consistency of their defensive intensity. So what is that going to look like tomorrow in this finals?
Well, don't go anywhere. We're going to try to get a word with the winning Bay Area Falcons. More to come in a minute. As the Falcons huddle and celebrate their victory, they are taking a moment to savor their accomplishment. They are one step closer to their goal of winning the Western Ultimate League Championship. What a performance they put on top to bottom in front of a huge hometown crowd here at what we must certainly call the nest for this game. The hometown fans really showing up for the Falcons tonight.
This is the best that the Falcons have looked all season. They really put together a complete game against a tenacious challenger and were able to ride the waves of the game and dig deep when it counted to be able to close out this game.
And we're going to go down to talk to one of the players of the match, Han Chen, on the sideline with Jenna Weiner.
Thanks. I'm here with Han, Heis, Chen. Congratulations on the win. You played a lot with that defensive line today, and y'all were so efficient in the first half, getting those early breaks. What helped y'all be so efficient, and what pulled that chemistry together for you?
We have a lot of really talented players on our team, and it helps when everybody is willing to work with their legs, move like everywhere on the field, and just hit easy open passes. Like everybody's open, and we just got to like execute on those simple throws.
Last season, y'all had to go on the road at championship weekend, took the hard loss, fell short in the third place. This time playing at home, able to get the win as the 4th seed. What's it feel like to be supported by this home crowd at championship weekend?
Yeah, definitely a really big honor to be able to host championship weekend. Our fans are incredible, and it's just you can feel the energy coming from them every single time. So home field advantage is definitely a thing, and I'm going to go ahead and like embrace that one.
Any thoughts looking ahead to the final matchup against San Diego Super Bloom tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, San Diego is an amazing team. They have a lot of great players on there, a lot of good friends, and I'm really excited to play them. We just have to keep playing our game. Colorado's a great team as well, and so like really huge shout out to them for like giving us a really good challenge today.
Sounds good. Congratulations again. Go rest up and celebrate.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Back to you in the booth.
Han Chen there talking about the home field advantage. The last 2 championships did go to the hometown team. Seattle Tempest winning in Seattle in 23. Colorado Alpenglow winning at home in 24. Could it be Falcons tomorrow in 25, keeping that home field advantage alive? Charlie, what did you think, given what you've seen of all 4 teams playing today?
I think that Super Bloom has a chip on their shoulder. They have been one of the best regular season teams year after year, and they are coming out and they are hungry. But what you said is real. This home field advantage, the energy is palpable.
And the energy in the stands was amazing after this Discraft play of the game. It was Jacqueline Nguyen who got up, and this block closing the distance on Megan Maxfield. It was electric in here, and that is exemplary of the defensive pressure that the Falcons were able to put on from the first point to the last point of the game. What a play.
And what a complete performance from a team that has been struggling to find the right combinations of players to do the job. And when they were rattling off that break chain, they were able to put out lots of different combinations of players that were able to get blocks and convert.
As the whole team is standing there together for the field, I think it's really emblematic of what this league has been. We've seen really great plays from all 4 teams, but it wouldn't have been possible without the league supporting the play, the organizers, and everyone else. And one of them is really important, and that would be Manisha Daryani, who is now joined on the sideline with Jenna.
Coach, congratulations. Big, deep breath. Your team did it. Held a lead, maintained a lead at home, supported by this home crowd. How does it feel?
I mean, it feels incredible. This game, planning this game, understanding that this was going to be the matchup, the amount of work that we did, the amount of preparation that we did, the amount that we talked about these incredible players on Alpenglow. We knew we were up against a huge test, and I am so... I'm beyond words. It's so gratifying as a coach when you see your players do the things that you ask them to do. And it was so awesome to see such a complete play from so many of my players and to just see the sideline. I had my entire roster here tonight, and I had to pick 22 of them. And that is the hardest decision as a coach, and I'm so grateful that this team understands what a challenge that is and what a team effort this requires.
This Bay Area Falcons team has been around since the start of the league. You have been a part of this team since the start, and you've had some shortcomings. Last year, made it to semis, falling short. What does it mean to finally break through with this group, with this team at home, make it to the finals for tomorrow?
You're right. We've not been here. I hadn't actually thought about that. And thank you. And I think that that's so exciting. You know, you always, especially if you have a group of players who enjoy being around each other, you want one more day. And you want that day to really count and mean something. And that's what we get tomorrow. We get a game that means something. Yes, we get to be at home. But more importantly, this group of players gets one more game together.
Any thoughts ahead of playing San Diego, first time this season?
Yeah, you're right. It's been a minute playing San Diego. We're going to have to go to the film and have some discussions. I'll probably have a long night and talking about strategy and matchups. But this group and these coaching staff, they're ready for it, and we're going to put a great game tomorrow.
Sounds good. Join us for a third place game in the morning, and then Falcons Super Bloom tomorrow afternoon. Thank you, Coach. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Back to the booth.
What a game. As you can see, the entire crowd has emptied onto the field. What a moment for the Bay Area Falcons.
We survived day one, y'all.
Breathe.
We'll do this again tomorrow.
I love
Thank you.
Coach Dariani is so articulate, and you can really see the emotion in her voice there of really how much this moment means to her. Like, I was getting goosebumps watching her on that interview. Just really how meaningful this is. We were talking earlier about how Super Bloom has been trying to mount something and do something over the course of years. And that is also what the Falcons have been doing. We could crown a new champion.
I think either way we will crown a new champion because neither of them have won. Neither of them have really been in this position in recent memory. It's been a while since Super Bloom has been in the finals, and they're going to face the Bay Area Falcons tomorrow. We were treated to an absolute game, and I, for one, am very excited to see what is going to happen tomorrow, first in the third place game and then in the final. Wonderful matchups in this league. The Bay Area Falcons advancing, and this is what the picture looks like. That loser of Semi 2 is Colorado Alpenglow, and the winners, the Falcons, facing Super Bloom. We hope that the rest of you join us tomorrow. It has been an absolute pleasure to bring you this broadcast. I would like to thank all of the people who have been on the ground setting things up. The Falcons have been an amazing host, as well as all of the volunteers that make this possible, and you, the viewers, who are making this league possible. I am Katie Killebrew. I have been joined by Charlie Mercer earlier with Manisha Dariani, and it is a great day to be a Frisbee fan. More coming tomorrow from the Western Ultimate League Finals.